Hello everyone, Creative Fun here, back again with another video, and yes, of course, I'm making an AJS37 Viggen video. What else would you expect? I love this aircraft. I literally grew up with this aircraft, and of course it wouldn't be me if I couldn't make a video about the Viggen. So, well, literally everyone and their dog has been making a video about the Viggen lately, so I was thinking about what I could possibly add, because making a tutorial video is out of the question. Like Bunjap and XX John has some great tutorials on the Viggen, so it's really no meaning for me doing something that they have already covered. However, one thing that I haven't seen a video about or people mentioning too much is the prospect of Viggen acting as a modern strike fighter. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the history about the Viggen, it is a third generation Cold War era strike aircraft. When it was upgraded in the late 1980s and early 1990s, it received first of all the designation AJS. Before it was just the AJ37, but more important than a letter, it actually received some upgraded weapon system. With this upgrade came a couple of new weapons, giving the Viggens a couple of new capabilities. So I want to take a look at it and see how it could possibly perform as a modern strike fighter with these modern weapon systems. Is it still viable? Okay, so the first modern weapon added to the Viggen arsenal has nothing to do with ground strike. It has more to do with self-defense and air-to-air combat, and that is an upgraded all-aspect version of the Sidewinder. Now, the all-aspect capabilities of this Sidewinder can be argued is a fairly was one of the first all-aspect missiles, and it's a, I would say, late 80s version of the Sidewinder, so it's probably not as modern as the most advanced Sidewinders currently in use by the modern air forces today, but it sure gave the Viggen some sharper teeth. It has always been able to carry the Sidewinder as far as I know, but the older rear aspect versions was worse at tracking, could of course only track from the rear, which means that you have to be behind the aircraft to be able to lock on. From the sides or in front is absolutely impossible. So it definitely gave the Viggens some sharper teeth and allow it to even perform a limited air-to-air defense role. Certainly you don't want to get into combat with this if you could avoid it, especially close combat, but the Viggen's limited air-to-air capability radar that's included in the ground mapping radar system does give the Viggen pilots some abilities to find even air targets. While he cannot lock on to them, he can definitely use the radar to guide him towards the target and give you ranging information for when entering for optimal firing range and so on. And considering the Viggen's performance, it is after all a Mach 2 capable fighter, believe it or not, despite the size of this thing. It does mean that the Viggen will definitely be able to fight back if cornered, or if you find yourself in a dogfight in a valley. So this aircraft definitely have the capabilities to shoot down targets from presumably all aspects. So let's just jump up into the air and see how well this all-aspect missile performs against a normal jet aircraft. Okay, so we have a target right in front of us, so let's push the RB74 quick selection button. And we got the tone here, so let's see if we cannot get this aircraft. We are burning towards it. So you can see here, even though, oh, there we got the tone, finally, Fox 2. Let's fire one more for good measure. It's breaking up, and boom, splash. So as you can see, the all-aspect capabilities of this missile can be debated, but we were able to lock up and shoot down the aircraft fairly effectively. So while the air-to-air capabilities of the Viggen is nothing to put in a Christmas tree, as we say in Sweden, it certainly can hold its own in a close quarter air-to-air combat scenario, and it should have similar capabilities, if not slightly better capabilities in this role than the A10. However, a far more interesting weapon in the Viggen's arsenal was the addition of the RB74, more commonly known as the AJM35 Maverick. Now, A10 pilots will be instantly familiar with this missile and its capabilities, but to give you a short version of it, it is a self-guided fire and forget air-to-ground missile. It's controlled by a small TV screen in the cockpit. You lock onto the target, you locate the target with the TV screen, you lock onto the target, you fire the missile, and then the missile will most likely hit its target. Now, the addition of this missile gives the Viggen a couple of very important capabilities for a modern strike fighter. First of all, it's a sort of standoff weapon. It has a pretty decent range, and that means that the Viggen can target enemies or ground units pretty far away and launch its weapons without coming within range of ground weapons. Secondly, it gives the Viggen the ever so important precision strike capabilities of a modern strike fighter. The AJM65 is well known for its precision and its high accuracy rate. So you'll be able to target bunkers, buildings, moving ground targets, even smaller ships or bigger ships too if you would like, with this weapon. So this precision capabilities is exactly what is expected of a modern strike fighter, or even a modern multi-role combat aircraft. Being able to lock onto a specific target and take that target out with a high degree of accuracy is absolutely essential to the modern battlefield. I think therefore that the addition of the AJM65 Maverick into the Viggen arsenal is the most important weapon to have for it to be able to compete with modern strike aircrafts. Now, let's get up into the air and see how we can use the Viggen's archaic, albeit still pretty decent ground radar alongside the AJM65 Maverick, and see how these two together can work to take down specific targets. Okay, so we're in the Viggen cockpit now in the air, and I've turned on the active pause just so I can set up and talk a little bit about my procedure here, so I don't have to talk too much while I go in and actually do it, because it's still quite difficult. The Viggen is not as user-friendly as the A10, and it's actually quite a lot faster too, so you kind of have to act a little bit faster than you normally do with the A10. So first, let's just set up our target waypoint, and I happen to know that our target waypoint is B2. So we're going to switch to tactical here. Put input mode, put a 9 here, and then just press B2. There we go. Then go to UT and then press active position. So if I now switch to B2 here, we have our target waypoint and distance to target, which is in kilometers. The next thing I want to show you and talk to you about is how to use the radar to locate ground targets. Now, this is not easy, and it's not always going to work because of how old and how old and archaic the radar actually is. So we're going to turn on our radar, so we get a kind of unfiltered view of what the radar sees, and we're going to zoom in a little bit and look at it. So first and foremost, this is a pretty neat function. The waypoint system gives us a nice round circle around where our target is, or our target waypoint is. This is great because it helps us find the target or the target area, but it's up to us to locate targets inside that area. We can zoom in and increase the resolution a little bit, but as you see, we're nowhere near close to targets. So as we get closer to the target, we are going to start looking at this section here, and the more we zoom in, the higher resolution the scanner becomes, or rather the high resolution the radar image will become. And what we're looking for here is tiny black variations in the ground that stands out towards the regular ground. So if you have a light area and you see some black spots, that usually indicates a target. Something is being reflected back at the radar. So that's what we are going to look for to identify our targets. Once that's completed, we are going to activate our RB75. I think I said it wrong earlier and called it 74. It's RB75. 74 is the new Sidewinder. And then we're going to move into master mode attack. And once we do that, the radar is going to turn off because the computer is going to need a radar for ranging information. And the Maverick display is going to show up here. And this display here is a little bit odd. It doesn't really have a zoom in and zoom out function, but what you can do, I've noticed, is that if you move in closer to the display, you actually zoom out so you can see a bigger picture. And if you lean back, it actually zooms in and give you a more zoomed in view. So you're probably going to see me move in and out here while I arrange the target in my crosshairs here. So I'm just going to see here if I can kill these two targets out there. I know there's two targets and I placed them in a convenient and easily located area just to make this a little bit easier on me. But the process works, it just requires practice. So let's disable active pause and get into the mission. Anyway, let's zoom in here and see what we see. It's still a little bit dark, but there, very clearly a dark spot shows up. It's a little bit difficult to make out, but it shows up from time to time. And definitely a big variation. If we move the radar, move the aircraft a little bit like this, it shows up a little bit there. So there's definitely some dark variations there in the target area. So let's see if we cannot go and kill those targets. So for argument's sake, let's say I have located targets I want to attack. And now it's time to go into attack mode. That activates our little screen here. And it gives us an indicator where the target waypoint is set. So that helps us locate a target. So I'm going to bring the Viggen down a little bit, slow down as well, so we don't reach a target too quickly. And we're going to zoom in here and see if we cannot find it. So that's the little airfield we have. And let's see if we cannot find some targets. There are two distinct black dots, so we're gonna see if we cannot lock up one of them. There. We'll trigger unsafe and fire. Let's reset the trigger and see if we cannot target the next tank. Let's go in a little left here, go up a bit, see if we cannot get a target on that one too. There we go. Trigger unsafe and fire. So that's two missiles away. So let's break off here. And normally you could, since this is a standoff weapon, you could just turn around and run away if you wanted to. But in this case, I want to see the destruction firsthand. So I'm going to activate autopilot and just zoom in a bit and see if we cannot get those targets. And the good thing, of course, is that I launched this way outside the range of these ground vehicles, so I don't have to worry about any ground attack fire. And there goes the first target, and there goes the second. Boom. Great, so 2 for 2. Let's head back to the ground and have a look at the third weapon added to the Viggen arsenal. So we're back again on the ground and we're going to have a look at the third weapon added to the Viggen arsenal. It is called the BK-90 Mjolnir Munition Dispenser. It's a pretty interesting weapon. It's self-guided, so once you launch this towards the target, it will guide itself or glide and maneuver itself toward this target, and it will stabilize at a set altitude and release cluster munition weapon systems over the designated target. Now this is a wide area effect weapon, so this is obviously not as precision capable as the Maverick weapon. However, the cool thing about this is that you can designate its target in the Viggen, and you can even program the weapon to do certain things in the Viggen. So I'm thinking we're just going to go up in the air and have a look at how to employ this weapon and see its destructive capabilities. Oh, also a fun note. This weapon was specifically designed to be used with the AJ37 Viggen. And the Gripen was indeed equipped with this for a short while, but as far as I know, please correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I've been able to find out, this weapon was actually disused by the Swedish Armed Forces because of its kind of large destructive power, and the wide area of effect was considered not in accordance with the Swedish military doctrine, and considered too dangerous, especially for civilians, and the risk of collateral damage too high for the Swedish Air Force to actually employ this weapon. So if I'm not mistaken, I think this weapon is no longer in use by the Swedish Air Force because it's too powerful, basically. Okay, we're in the cockpit, and let's just trim out the aircraft a little bit. There we go. Flying fairly stable, I think. Let's just turn on the autopilot to be sure. And let's designate our target point. It should be B2, so go into input, press 9, press B2, press output, position, and then just confirm it's our target point. There, great. And we could actually start heading over towards it immediately. So let's turn on the radar and see what it tells us. There we go. I'm gonna zoom in a bit here, and as you can see here, we have a group of target now, so it's far more visible than the previous in the previous mission I did. You can clearly see how it stands out compared to the ground here. The black spots are definitely a group of targets that we are going to try to kill. So let's switch the weapons on. Let's go into attack mode here. Let's put the aircraft into attack master mode. And we have a little target designator here, and the cool thing is that since we have made a target point here, we could, if we want to with the radar, assign a new target point. So if we would discover that this is a little bit off, we could just move it, the target point. But since this seems accurate, I'm not going to do that. What we are going to do, however, is speed up, because we're going to need more speed if we want to release this weapon, and we're actually going to have to drop down a little bit altitude. And let's see, we're coming down below 500 here. That's good. We're heading straight towards the target, and let's go trigger unsafe. And very soon we are going to get notice that it's time to release the weapon. The release, you can release within I think around 10 kilometers, around that. So we're going to release very soon here. We're pretty fast but a little bit too low, so I would say this is a good time to release it. At least both weapon systems. Press altitude hold, and let's see if we can follow these weapons down. So as you can see here, they have a set altitude, and you can program this altitude if you want to, but we went to the default settings, and here I am burning away. And now they're just going to fly over the target. Hopefully they don't shoot me down while I'm looking at these missiles. And they're going to just fly over the target and release the munitions over it, hopefully. Let's see how accurate this is. Let's zoom out a bit here and see if we can get a nice explosion. Boom! And that's pretty neat, actually. So, and once they've released the munition, they will just crash into the ground. Now let's head back into the cockpit here and turn around and see the damage we actually caused here. So the release parameters for this aircraft, for this weapon, is a little bit wonky. So you have to read up properly on how to deploy this weapon. You need to be below 500 meters, and you need to be between Mach 0.7 and Mach 0.9. Let's go trigger safe here. I'm going to go into navigation mode, and you can see the smoke over there. We definitely did a lot of damage. That's great. So once you have learned how to properly release this weapon, you will be able to take out huge groups of targets, and it definitely gives the Viggen some standoff capabilities, because you can release this weapon a little bit of off angle, since this will self-navigate. So you can release them in a turn if you want to as well. And I think we got most of the target there, actually. They are not happy. Look at all that smoke. The Viggen can carry up to 4 of these missiles, and it can release them one by one at 4 different locations, which you can designate with the radar, or you can release them in what is called serie, or like in pairs, so you can release them 2 and 2 if you want to. You can also designate with the computer system here. You have to learn a little bit of code, so you have to punch in here, but you can designate their target altitude, and you can also designate in the spread if you want them in a long or wide spread or a concentrated spread. So a very advanced and very capable weapon system designed for the 90s and Millennium types fighters. So it's a 4.5 generation weapon, which actually, funnily enough, have a more advanced inertial navigation system than the Viggen itself, I think. So yeah, please have fun and play around with this weapon, because it certainly gives the Viggen some pretty powerful destructive capabilities. Now the only downside with this weapon I have noticed with the Viggen, and I don't know if this is a bug in the simulator itself or if this is actually how it's intended by designer, if this is a limitation of the aircraft itself, but you cannot use this. You cannot arm the BK-90 munition dispenser together with the RB-75, the Maverick missile. For some reason they do not play well together, so if you have both of them equipped, the system, they will not just work. You will not be able to lock on any target using the display here, and you will not be able to release the munition dispensers properly. So it's a little bit too bad, because I'm thinking the ideal loadout for this aircraft will be 2 munition dispensers, cover a wide area, and then you go in with precision strike if there was a specific target you couldn't take out that you wanted to take out with the Mavericks. But so far in this simulator it's not possible. So let's head back down to ground and have a look at the 4th and last weapon that was added to the Viggen arsenal in the early 90s upgrade. Okay, so we're back on the ground, and let's have a look at the 4th and last weapon that was added in the AJS upgrade of the Viggen, and it's the RB-15F anti-ship missile. Now this was a missile designed for the Swedish Air Force and Swedish Army and Navy actually as well, because this missile can be launched from ground and from ship as well. It's a pretty advanced self-guided anti-ship missile, cruise missile. This was designed specifically for use with the JAS39 Gripen. However, due to, as I explained earlier, the delay of delivery from Saab for the Gripen, the Swedish Air Force decided to upgrade and give the Strike Viggen the capability to launch this weapon as well. Now, compared to the older RB-04 anti-ship missile that the Viggen initially carried, this is far more capable. It has a very advanced inertial navigation system, probably more advanced than the Viggen's own navigation system, to be honest. It has a pretty advanced radar and tracking system, and it can follow waypoints and can be programmed both in air and on ground. It can also be set to target the group targets. It can target the currently jamming targets, so it can lock on jammers and go for those, and it's a pretty nasty anti-ship missile. It's pretty capable. And I'm not gonna show this missile off because XX John has made 2 amazing tutorials about this missile and how to use it effectively. So if you want to see this missile in action and see on a good tutorial on how to use it, I totally recommend you check out his channel, because it's a very good 2 tutorials on how, both an advanced and a simple tutorial on how to use this missile effectively against ship targets. Suffice it to say, this extended or increased the Viggen's capabilities as a ship striker, or rather made it still relevant in the 90s, and would have made it relevant even in the 2000s. The cool thing about this missile also is that it has pretty good range, so you can release it, I think, from 30 miles or something away, so you can hide literally in the mountains over there, launch it from a valley, and just have the missile use its own guidance system to fly out, turn around, and then attack whatever target that's needed. So that gives the Viggen modern anti-ship strike capabilities. So that concludes my review or walkthrough about the modern weapon systems added to the Viggen in the late 80s and early 90s upgrade. And to answer my own question, do I think Viggen is still a relevant modern strike fighter in the modern DCS setting? The answer is yes, most definitely. It requires probably more training and skill, I would say, than the A10 in terms of delivering the weapons and handling the systems. However, the A10 of course there are 2 different types of aircraft. I think this gives DCS a powerful modern strike fighter that is capable of both ground and anti-ship. And with the addition of the fairly advanced Sidewinder missiles, as we can see here, it has enough teeth to defend itself should it come under attack. So thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoy this type of videos, please leave a like and a comment, and if you want to see more Viggen videos from me, please just tell me in the comments what type of videos you would like to see. And please check out my Facebook page. I actually have a Facebook page, so I have like 2 likes so far, so if we can get it up to like 5, that would be great. Anyway, once more, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.